Joining me live is Red Rose Foundation Chief Executive Officer Dr. Brian Sullivan. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. You've been working with domestic violence here and overseas for more than 2 decades. What's your opinion on the latest announcements from government?
Well, I think they're welcome, of course. Any funding is welcome, Janie, in this area for services. But I also think we need to be very clear about what and how that funding is going to be spent. I'm often concerned after there's been a spate of tragedies like we've experienced recently in Australia with women's domestic violence fatalities, that we can tend to rightfully show an outrage and an impatience with the system and the services that are being offered at the moment. But I think we need to be careful and very considered about how we respond, that it's not a knee-jerk reaction. And we've had reports and national reports. We've had commissions of inquiry and royal commissions in the past. I think the time is for very, very strategic actions in this regard. And so I wouldn't like to see money spent in a dribs and drabs approach. I think we have to take a very holistic, strategic response to what we're doing, how we're spending the money, and where we're intervening.
And you're the CEO for the Red Rose Foundation. Tell us about that foundation.
That's a small organisation, and that was founded by a Queensland woman, Betty Taylor, who's been a pioneer and a visionary in the domestic and family violence sector for over 35 years. The Red Rose Foundation began in about 2015, 2016. We work specifically with women survivors of non-lethal strangulation, and we work in the area of changing the ending for victim survivors of domestic and family violence. We work with women post-crisis generally, where we're offering trauma support, trauma management for women after they have escaped the domestic violence, but their lives have been seriously damaged, and their physical and psychological health has been damaged by the after effects of strangulation.
You've worked with perpetrators, Brian, since 1998 here and overseas in the US. What are some of the signs to look out for regarding violence in men?
Well, I think it's it can be very difficult to detect early on in a relationship, because women will report to us that initially there's all charm and attention to her, and sometimes this is called love bombing. It's not love at all by any means. It's actually a strategy that an abuser will use to entrap that woman in a relationship and to make her think that this is the romance she has been seeking and searching for all her life. He's too good to be true. But then the controlling behaviour can start, and that can start very slowly and very maybe innocently at first, but it's something that accumulates and grows over time. I would suggest that if a relationship seems to be moving too fast and a woman feels swept off her feet somehow, and moving in too quickly, sharing bank accounts too quickly, all danger signs for me, and most certainly when that man exhibits an obsessive kind of jealousy. And a woman can feel sometimes that this is wonderful. He just wants to spend time with me. He wants to be totally in my presence all the time, whereas that, of course, is not a healthy sign in a relationship. So those early signs of jealousies is a warning sign for me. I also think the way he speaks to a woman, about a woman, for a woman, over a woman, down to a woman, can be an indication too of this man's level of respect and his maybe ulterior controlling motives that he may have.
Brian, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I quickly wanted to ask you, what solutions do you have to change this?
Well, I think we have to take a holistic wraparound approach for victim survivors. And I think what's been missing has been a holistic wraparound approach for perpetrators of violence. So in America, there are something like over 300 family justice centres, which are a one-stop shop for victim survivors where they can have legal police support, they can have health support, counselling, and also safety planning with women's advocates, and their practical needs can be attended to also. So they're not having to travel all over a city to try and mix and match services which are going to work for them. I think what's been missing is something similar for male perpetrators, and I would call them some kind of male accountability centres where we can contain these men and we can work with them on stopping their violence with extended stopping violence programs, sexual respect programs, safe fathering programs, alcohol and drug services should they need that, other areas of need that they might have, to do that over the course of 12 months at least, where they are closely case managed by probation and parole, corrective services, and the eyes are on them for 12 months where they are monitored and supervised very, very closely. This is especially for our high-risk, high-harm offenders who have strangled, sexually assaulted, stalked women, who have breached multiple times, who have made threats to kill her or kill himself or kill children. We know who these men are. Generally, they're in our system. We need to really lift our game in working towards containing them.